G'day, beautiful people. I hope you're all going well. Liz Ross here. I'm a holistic relationship coach, counsellor, and healer, and registered nurse in Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia, or Lake Macquarie. Lovely to connect with you all, and I hope you've all had a great day. I got up early, early bird gets the worm, and completed a lot of stuff today. It's amazing what you can get done, like the 6 to 10 different activities, tasks, life stuff that you can get done before midday. And I'm like, it's still the AM? How did this even happen? Anyway, I actually wanted to talk on a couple of things today that I've helped a few clients through. Firstly, I'll check the volume. I'll keep it short and sweet for the short and sweet people. Where are we at? So you're getting a little bit of what I'm like in my free community. So join that free community. It's been open for 3.5 years. Get all of the free education, meditations, collaborations. It's juicy in there. It's called Create Healthy Relationships Through Healing. I just want to check the volume and I'll share it at the end. Is the volume working? Yes, it's working. All right, hashtag replay, hashtag live. I can't see any peeps there yet. That's all good. So I wanted to talk on a topic: breaking relationship patterns and understanding yourself and creating healthy connections. And that's quite broad. So the people that I generally help are neurodiverse women, okay, who are usually in their 30s, okay, and they're wanting to create healthy relationships. And some of the sort of feelings they may come through with, or the thoughts, or the things, the challenges that they may have, I guess the biggest outcomes that they're having, that they're wanting good self-worth, good self-esteem, and confidence in themselves. And they're usually feeling lost and stuck, drained, de-energized, burnt out, and stressed a lot of the time. And you're probably thinking, why does that happen? Well, not only with neurodiverse women who may have ADHD, autism, and many other diagnoses, it can affect how they relate with other people, how they interpret the world around them, how they process information, how they process thoughts and feelings. So it's really, really important that these women feel safe, feel non-judgmental, and have a safe and trusting environment where they're not judged, where they're free to be all of who they are, their creative self, their feminine self, their masculine self, their really expressive self. Like, you can be as loud as you want and it doesn't scare me. I'm actually going to build you up even more because I want everyone to be successful, have healthy relationships, and get shit done. I want you to achieve your goals and dreams. I want everyone to have healthy relationships. Why? For what purpose? Everyone already knows my story, so I'll keep it simple. I was fostered out, I was a ward of the state, whatever you want to call it. I muck up the words sometimes and say state of ward when I was 2 weeks of age. So from that basic experience, I felt neglected and abandoned and rejected. I totally wasn't, but that's how I felt in that moment. And it really affected my identity and who I was. And so that foundational part of me, it really encouraged me. And I have this obsession with relationships, with family of origin work, with inner child work, with how people connect. And I observe people quite well. And yeah, I just, from that experience, I think looking back at it and how I was like in my childhood and teenagehood and as a young adult, I'm still a young person at 35, I feel young. I feel like I learned a lot about myself, and I really want to share with other neurodiverse women, because you're not the only one with ADHD. There's a few more of us. And I don't want women to feel alone. I want you guys to feel supported and have community. And I really want to answer this question because I feel like it might, or this banner that I've put, because I feel like it might help someone. And I want to share the how. I want to give you all the value right here, right now, because if you have a problem and you want a solution, why can't I just give it on a live? It's so much more easier because more views, more eyes, more help. It's helping people. Hopefully it's helping people. Gosh. So a specific topic with privacy and confidentiality that came through for this particular client was around, I would say that they're wanting to break relationship patterns because they've got this fear of rejection that keeps coming up, maybe fear of commitment. And it's not only shown up in the dating world or with their partner, it's also shown up in their friendship groups, in their family groups, in the environments that they hang about in, because they almost fear this immense fear. And when we have that fearful energy, what are we going to attract in? We're going to attract in when I say, yeah, I would say you're going to attract in people that feed off those insecurities or feed off that fear. So this is why women and people in general need to use their voice and have confidence and self-belief and understand their intuition and gut instincts and follow that. If you have that gift of discernment, use it. Trust yourself, okay? And work with that. That will shift that energy, okay, from that fear energy, because that can attract in predators and people can be, and this is very like a weird language to use, but that was the word that came through. It's like if prey has fear, right? You're out in the bush, the animal, the lion that's going to eat the smaller animal on the ground, right? That prey, they've probably got an energy of fear and in survival mode trying to figure out how they can get away from the predator, the lion in the room. And a lot of people with different mental health diagnoses or neurodiversity sometimes have a lot of fear, or some medical professionals might say that they have some type of anxiety. If we look at the D Diagnostic Statistical Manual, if we look at like psychologists and the work they do, they might say, you know, you've got an anxious attachment style, or you've got anxiety or depression and that. And it's good to have labels and diagnoses for a certain, like it can help, because when we understand the diagnoses and the symptoms, you can treat it, whether it's with medications or therapies and stuff, whatever works for each individual. I like to take each person, like look at every case holistically, okay? And what works for one might not work for another. But that prey or that fearful part, because I'm just intuitively speaking right now, I had dot points and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go for what's coming through. That prey or that feeling of fear, it's like we are the prey, or we're feeling like the prey, this fear, this anxiety, this hurt, this stuck, this feeling lost feeling, which could almost be diagnosed as like this anxiety. What's going to happen? Okay, how can I control the situation? How can I fix it? How can I prevent it, right? This bit of prey. And they go into survival mode, and then they become dysregulated, this human or this animal, because we're all mammals, right? We're all actually animals to a degree with the spirit. And so this predator or lion can sometimes create fear to the prey, usually most of the time. Okay, so that predator, okay, which is almost like all of the fears coming together, or all of that energy expanding, and it's hard for it to be minimized, and then it becomes even more dysregulated, so they're becoming more connected. That can also happen for some women if they're feeling insecure and they've got a lot of fear. What types of people or predators or situations are they going to attract in? Are those healthy, or are they maybe unhealthy or toxic type of environments and people? If you don't have self-belief, if you don't have confidence, okay, it's going to affect the people that you attract in. Okay, so if you're wanting to reduce risky or unsafe situations, we all need to do the inner work. We all need to take care of ourselves. We all need to understand who we are and where we come from. It comes back to family of origin, who we are and where we've come from, to prevent or to mitigate or to challenge the lion in every room that you go in. That lion is fear. And when you look fear in the eye and you walk towards the fear, it actually gets smaller and smaller and smaller the more you break the cycle and pattern, the more you become aware that trigger or that trauma response, in some therapists' eyes, they prefer the word trauma response because it's got different connotations. The word trigger could have different connotations as well. So most people know the word trigger, so I say triggers. However, I've been learning about trauma responses. So a trigger is something that might make people's, they may go into the sympathetic nervous system. So they're dysregulated, they're in that fear, they're trying to, what do they call it, flight and flight response, freeze, fawn, they're trying to get the heck out of there, right? They might run away, they might fight back, they may fawn down, they may freeze and stay stagnant, okay? Because everyone with different things that come through will have a different reaction, but it's a dysregulated survival fearful mode, Okay, so how do we overcome the fear is through understanding where that pattern first was rooted. Where was it first rooted? Where did it first happen? Okay, and you can do lots of different therapies. So for people that have been through severe trauma and grief, I would highly suggest like psychiatrists and psychologists, and they can do the medication side of things, the diagnostics, and then you can do EMDR and cognitive behavior therapy. They are incredible at what they do, and I honor them for what they do, because we all need help at different times throughout our life. I know I've utilized psychology and medications when I've needed them. So they're there for a purpose, and they help the symptoms to reduce, right? The symptoms of fear or anxiety or depression or whatever it might be. So then we can sleep better, so then we can process the trauma, and then we can then rock forth in the time frame that's needed. All right, so if someone's going through a grief where they've had a loved one pass away, antidepressants are great. That really does help. If you've been through workplace bullying, antidepressants are effective, especially if like that works. Like I do think it works. Okay, it serves a purpose. But ultimately, when people are wanting to break the pattern, okay, we've got to understand where it first came from, and then know what support is it that I need, or what numbers can I ring, or who are my top 5, or who's on my team that I can connect with that can help me through this. Who can help you through that? You might have 5 or 10 people that come to mind. Write their names down, message them and ring them right now, and get a result. All right? There's some amazing modalities out there that support people. So when we break the pattern, it can be quite hard, because a lot of my clients, they'll feel so stuck and in the fear that they'll change the subject, but it's because of the fear of rejection, the fear of commitment, the fear of not being loved, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being unwanted, because they didn't feel loved enough or wanted in their childhood usually, or in past relationships. And they're not knowing, how can I trust that person? Like, how can I trust men, or how can I trust women, or whoever it is? How can I trust? They need to learn to trust themselves. So just because people might have been cheated on or lied to in the past doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Okay? It's just that happened. What can you do about it? What can you learn from it? You have no control over the other person. You only have control over you. All right? So you need to know your worth and value, and be confident in who you are, and know your values. Okay? And be able to work through those trigger points or those trauma responses that come up. That's happened. It's not going to happen every time. If you're stuck in the fear, and then that fear becomes like the big lion that's going to eat you up, and you feel it's worse than the fear. It's like people feel really lost and stuck and on edge all the time. Okay? Because they then believe that the lion's actually there. Okay? That there's a lion in the room, and they're scared to look at the lion and walk up to it and see it go smaller and smaller. Okay? Because we need to like the opposite of fear is love, but I also see it as we need to acknowledge the fear so we can work through the fear, so then it stops those patterns from reoccurring again. So then you're not attracting in the same environments or people, because you want to learn the lesson now. You want to learn it as soon as you can to prevent it from happening again. Okay, usually. So anyway, for these particular neurodiverse women in their 30s that feel alone, lost, lonely, and rejected in relationships, what they're needing is self-understanding. They need to understand, like I said, who they are and where they come from. Okay, they're needing space and time. They need that space and time. It's almost like they have not only an anxious attachment style, but they may have an avoidant attachment style. And it's almost like that ambivalent attachment style that would turn into, where they run away and come back, run away and come back, push people away and come back. Because it's almost like attention seeking, but they're also wanting to feel loved. Where does all that come from? Traumas. We're from usually 0 to 7 in our imprinting years, or 7 to 14 in your modeling years, or maybe 14 to 21 in your socializing years. Who knows? Everyone's different. That trauma could be that they've lost their fur baby that they grew up with from like 3 to 7 years old. That's heartbreaking. That could be their best friend that they see after school every day, and they've held on to that hurt well into their 30s because they felt shameful of, how can I share that? What if I get judged? Because that was a trauma that I experienced, and the trigger I had was I wanted to cry, but I didn't know how to express that, and I felt like it was my fault that our pet, who's the fur baby or part of the family, died. Is that my fault? And then if they hold on to those beliefs and feelings into their 30s, that one event could affect how they relate or see the world or other people in relationships, believe it or not. So it can be any type of trauma, okay, or any type of event if trauma traumatizes. Okay, so having that space and time can help these women. Also, self-regulation is going to help you. And another thing that may help you is I'm going to teach you, okay, because I love teaching, about the Karpman drama triangle, because this helps my clients. And I'll teach you this in the group coaching if it comes up. I'm going to coach and counsel intuitively on the spot with whatever problems people come to me with on this Zoom call in a few weeks. Okay, every week for 12 weeks, you're going to get results. You'll get the self-paced course, the 12 videos. And one of the things we're going to talk on is Karpman drama triangle that you'll do on your own. But if you come to session and it floods in that I need to reteach or go through on a deeper level about the Karpman drama triangle, we're going to go deeper on that, because sometimes rehearing the story again in a different way can be helpful. So have you ever felt alone and lost? Have you ever felt lonely and rejected? Maybe you're still feeling alone, lost, lonely, and rejected. What would help you to get through that? Well, ask yourself, what would my best friend need if they were feeling alone right now, lost right now, lonely and rejected? What if, they've had someone pass away? You might feel like, I don't have the words, but sometimes it's not about having the words, it's about your presence and your energy in that room. If you are spreading love and your intention is to be by your friend's side or be by your partner's side, that speaks more volumes, excuse the pun, than someone like me just talking off the cuff. Some people effing hate and get drained by people that talk a lot. They prefer their own company and they prefer silence of the Caribbean, which is great. That works for people, especially when they're processing. Okay, so sometimes less is more. Sometimes just being present with people and holding that space in the room can be enough. And that goes for all the therapists and coaches that watch this as well. Sometimes it's just sitting there and allowing our clients to cry and get cranky, and that's it. They don't want questions or words. What they're wanting is to feel that they're safe, but they can also open up and just be without judgment. That if they don't talk for the whole session, that's okay. If you don't want to talk, that's your choice. Okay? Because our actions do speak louder than words. But anyway, so we're going to, I just want to reassure you that if you or someone that you know feels alone, lost, lonely, and rejected in relationships, you are not broken. You're not like the broken glass. The Japanese or Chinese, when the vase breaks, they put it together with the golden paint. They put it back together. Now, isn't that beautiful? Even though all of the pieces broke in that vase, or the person's broken down and they've lost everything, their money, their business, their relationships, their divorce, everything's so bad. But those pieces over time through the healing process can come back together again, like that Japanese or Chinese vase. Okay, we don't need to become like the broken parts. We're already whole, even if you feel broken. So there can be patterns that play out, right? For people that they might run away, they might ghost, they may avoid, they may break up, they may get back together, they may break up, they may get back together. Why? Because of fears. Fears of rejection, fears of commitment, whatever it is. And so when we look at the Karpman triangle of the rescuer, the persecutor, and the victim, we can understand more about ourselves and other people. We've all been victims, woe is me. We've all been rescuers. Yeah, like it's almost like Wonder Woman or Wonder Man, right? And then, or Superman, Wonder Man, that would be weird. And then we've got the persecutor, those people that just yell and put everyone down and criticize them. Okay, they all play a part and they're all trapped in this Karpman triangle. So how do we break that pattern? We step outside the pattern We become aware of it. When you can become aware and admit, which is hard because some people don't want to let their ego down because they think vulnerability or crying is a weakness, which is bullshit. Just the generational groups, greats, right? Back in that time, to survive during wartime, okay, might not have expressed emotion because they needed to show strength and solidarity and camaraderie and all that, which you can still do. But what is strong is vulnerability. Okay, so we need to reteach emotional hygiene, but that's okay, we'll get there. So with the Karpman triangle, when we understand that pattern and we become aware and we can admit and say, hey bro, or hey, like I'm in the wrong, like I'm sorry, I want to make some changes here. And I spoke about this probably a few days ago. This is the change I'm going to make. And then you can, it was yesterday I spoke about it, you can then consistently make the change. Or you may just become aware, for some of you that are quite introvert, you become aware of it in here through contemplation. You might talk to yourself about it. You're not going mad, I hear you, right? And then you just action it. You might not need to share with anyone. We get the best answers from ourselves, believe it or not. Who would say that when I'm trying to say, come and work with me at the end of this? But it's like, there's a lot of truth in that. We do get the best answers from ourselves. It's truth. So when we understand that we have all been persecutors, we've all been rescuers, and we've all been victims at one point, imagine if we could flip that triangle on its ass and really see what all of these parts are wanting. So usually the persecutor, like the person that's criticizing and getting cranky and putting people down, they're the challengers. The positive of those people, when they're in the functional healthy element, okay, they're well rested, they've had something to eat, just chill out, then okay, they become the challengers. And challenges are great. I love challenges. So challengers challenge everyone, okay. They challenge the status quo, they challenge politics, they challenge systems and structures, not just to annoy people. It's not just that. It's not just to be opposite, but it's because usually they can see things that other people might not see, or they can see how it could be done better. All right, or how we could deconstruct it and then reconstruct it, which is pretty nifty. So challenges, I believe we all have a challenger within us. So how can we challenge ourselves to be a better person? How can we challenge ourselves to step outside the old patterns and try a new way and be consistent with it? How can we challenge ourselves in healthy ways? All right, and then you're probably like, okay, what then would the opposite of the victim and rescuer be? Well, usually one of them becomes, and I don't know which order, one of them becomes the coach and the other one becomes the counselor. So when they're regulated, they've also slept and had a good holiday. All right, I've got to get the battery for this, so we'll go for a walk and I'll come back. So as we're talking and walking, what then happens is the victim or the rescuer, so they're positive when they're regulated, is the coach or counselor. So they're coaching. So they might ask like really powerful questions. Okay, just get this battery. So powerful questions like, you know, what's working here, what's not working, what could we do differently, what could we improve? So those are really, really great coaching questions. Ask what questions if you want to get a resolution. And then the counselors, right? The victims might then want to counsel. And you're probably thinking, what's the difference between a counselor and a coach? There is a difference. Alright, put this in battery. So the counsellor in that aspect would be using different modalities. So they might use strength focus based therapies or cognitive behavioral therapy. There we go. To understand themselves and the other person, which is pretty nifty, right? So they all can be regulated. So when each one is well slept and they're hydrated and they've had food, they're not going to chuck a tantrum. Okay, they're going to be regulated. So there's nothing wrong with challenging people. There's nothing wrong with coaching, and there's nothing wrong with counseling. But we first need to challenge ourselves, coach ourselves, and counsel ourselves. Okay, to get a different result, to get a different pattern. But if you want to stay stuck in the same environments that don't serve you, that bring you down, that bring your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-worth down, your value, what result are you going to get? It's going to perpetuate the problem. Okay, unless you have a solid ass morning and nighttime routine and a really solid ass mindset and psychology of who you are, your boundaries, what you will and will not tolerate in any environment. So real gift of discernment, like the truth bearer energy. These people don't take bullshit. They are different to me in the sense of there's a difference between I'm saying on a live, like I'll challenge people and blah, blah, blah. But there's a different energy in how I would portray that in a real life situation compared to people that just naturally are gifted in seeing bullshit right away, right? Some people just naturally, like that, you may call it intuitive, and it could be, but they stand solid no matter what people say about them, no matter what criticism comes through. They stand solid in who they are. And that's why a lot of these people don't have problems. Because they know who they are. They know their beliefs and values and their own value. And people aren't going to persuade them or manipulate them in any way. Government, politics, any of that. Because they see and they question and they challenge. Okay? I had to learn that gift. I never naturally had it. I just trust, naive, believe everyone, blah, blah, blah. But there's other people out there that just know that there's something sinister going on and there's something that doesn't smell right, and they're usually on it. Like detectives that haven't actually done proper training. They just know, right? It's like a nail on the head every time. How did you know? Because I just knew, right? They just know the data. They just observe really, really well. They listen. They don't talk. Okay, so I find really introvert people that listen and observe are probably the best in that gift of discernment and truth bearer, where they're strong in their conviction and they've got all their evidence, right? They know who they are, and then they're not easily manipulated. They're not easily controlled. Okay, so that's a gift. It can be a lonely world for them though. They feel alone. They feel isolated. They feel potentially that people are incompetent around them, and some people may label that as, oh, that's narcissism. No, I don't really see it as that. I see it as some people are more particular, and some people are more have a higher standard, okay, or they may have a higher value on something. Or potentially they just like things done the right way the first time instead of having to go back and fix it 10 times. Because if we did it right the first time, why would we need to go back and do it again? So people aren't just necessarily, like, I think that's a harsh label. I think that some people are just more pessimistic than other people, which is also a gift. Okay, that's a gift. If you can be pessimistic, or if you can say no, or you see the bullshit straight up, that to me is all that is that's you speaking your truth and saying truth. That's great. Okay. I'm more positive and optimistic and see the good in everything, but that has downfalls, right? It gets me, it takes a while. When you learn, but if you keep the rose-colored glasses on, it's a good protective mechanism and it works for a while, but then eventually you have to take it off because otherwise you become passive-aggressive and resentful. So both, I think, have positives and negatives, just like the Karpman triangle. So how can we step outside of the unhealthy patterns and step into the healthy patterns? It might take time, it might take space. Okay, so it's understanding who we are and where we've come from. Easier said than done sometimes, because who after work wants to sit down and think about, where did I come from? Why am I the way I am? Right. Some people might, but not everyone. Some people just want to scroll on Instagram and have a dopamine hit of laughter because they love comedies and that makes them feel better about themselves, which is great because you're releasing dopamine and endorphins. That's really, really healthy. Okay, everyone has a different personality and a different way that they become aware of who they are. Okay, so a lot of the real struggles, I think I explained the Karpman triangle, but I'll just go through some of the real struggles that we're speaking about. Is for these neurodiverse women that I'm helping, they're feeling misunderstood and unseen in relationships. They're wanting that emotional connection with men. Okay, they're wanting their boundaries to be respected, right? I'm just letting you know, like, this is what a lot of neurodiverse women are wanting. But you can try and fake it till you make it, but I'm teaching them how to tune into their intuition and read the energy of the room. So it usually won't work, which is good, but not good for people that might be trying to play a game or manipulate them, because I'm teaching them how to read better. So they're wanting not only to feel safe, not that they are wanting the communication there, respect to their boundaries and that emotional connection. You can't fake that shit. If you haven't gone deep with yourself, how can you go deep in the relationship? And it's the same for the women. If they haven't gone deep enough, they're just going to keep running away and ghosting and avoiding because of a lot of fear or a lot of hurt that hasn't been addressed properly. Okay, we need to address it properly. We need to get to the details in the right time when people are ready. Okay, so then they can work through that and process it. So if they're feeling misunderstood and unseen in relationships, they're lacking trust from themselves. They're becoming indecisive, and then they're like, oh, should I do this or that? And they're indecisive because they're probably anxious and depressed because they're not in the right environments. They're in environments that verbally abuse them or put them down on the daily. You don't need that shit in your life. Whether it's at your workplace, home or school, you don't need that shit. But you stay because you want to feel loved and accepted. I get it. It sucks. All right, but only you can change it. There's no point trying to prove yourself to these people. They're never going to listen. Whether you're successful or failing, people are always going to talk about you. And it doesn't even matter what people say or what they think. All right, I saw a reel yesterday or this morning, and they were talking about if people are talking behind your back, keep them behind your back. Leave it behind you. There's a lot of truth in that. If you aren't an honest citizen and if you can't say to someone to their face directly that you've been an asshole in a nice way, like, or I see your bullshit, okay, or give good feedback to people if they ask for an honest answer, just give them the truth. Well, that is important to me and for my community, so I'm going to give them feedback, okay, because I know that it helps them. And it helps to build the trust as well, because they know that that's the feedback, and feedback's feedback. So some of these women may overcompensate, so they're people pleasing, they overgive. So they give their time, energy, money, and all of that. And then they're like, why isn't this relationship working? Why isn't this person paying me back? Why aren't they loving me and accepting me? And then they get these thoughts. They start withdrawing because they think, oh, well, maybe they're with that pretty woman, or that, no. All these jealousies and insecurities come up after they've overgiven everything. They've done the people pleaser mask and they've done the overgiving mask, that they now start shooting out the message, that shooting out these weird, like these things. They're not weird, they're like, it's their insecurities, which is from the fear, which has already come out in other environments, whether it's family or friendship groups. It's then coming out in the dating world or in long-term relationships where they might get jealous or insecure of other women or other men. Okay? And so how you work through that is through understanding, who am I? Where have I come from? I know we've said this a billion times, but it is. If we understand where those root cause insecurities have come from, which is usually your upbringing or past relationships, then you can see the truth better. You can see your worth and value. You can learn to trust yourself and then trust other people. Because unless you've got evidence, people then just start controlling, or they just don't trust. They just mistrust people. And that's not fair on anyone. Okay, so then they get stuck in these unhealthy, toxic relationship dynamics because of their own fears and insecurities that they either created or that have happened to them over a perpetuated amount of time. So perpetuated is like a trauma cycle that people are trapped in for a long time. It's insidious. They might be in that trauma for 20, 40, 60 years and they don't even know that they're in the trauma because they're now trauma bonded to these people that are creating this trauma. So these people that are victims, like real victims in this, lie and they don't tell the truth to the systems, like the police or the ambulance or whoever they're talking to, because they think that how they're being treated is normal and it's okay, right? Like if I tune into that energy, it's like they lose their self, they lose their sense of self, and they lose their sense of identity, and they start to believe the lies of the predator or the persecutor, and they become more of a victim. They forget to use their voice. Their throat is totally blocked. They're choking. Right? If I tune into that, it's like hectic shit. I feel uncomfortable talking about it because it's like that can happen for some people in the toxic realm. Okay, which is sad. 1-800-RESPECT 000. Talk to a friend or family member. Talk to someone that you trust and get the heck out of there. Okay, so if you're feeling stuck, how can you become unstuck? Okay, and then they're feeling emotionally drained and they're doubting themselves. This self-doubt creeps in like a shadow that just follows them. Okay, I know some of you understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of you that have been watching me in the background for 6 years that never comment, that never like. I know. How do I know? I just get told a lot of random shit. Intuition has its benefits sometimes. Insane to the membrane, right? So the solutions, because you want to know the solutions, I'm pretty sure I've shared the solutions, but we can go deeper, is just understand yourself and where you've come from. And be okay with it. Like, be okay with who you are. Okay, it might take some time to get through those different layers, the onion layers that we all have, but who else is going to accept you but yourself? All right, so when we understand ourself, that creates more space. If you can spend some alone time with yourself, you're not actually going to feel lonely anymore. It's just the fear of being lonely that keeps people lonely. You're not actually alone. We're never actually alone. It's just if you don't like yourself or love yourself or have confidence or self-belief in yourself, what are you going to be thinking and feeling? You're going to be doubting yourself. What people or dates are you going to attract in? All right? So neurodivergence affects people's emotions and processing information and communication differently. Like, I've changed the subject 100 times, right? And I've got to remind myself to reel it back in. I've had to learn to do that. Okay, so with that self-understanding and creating space, your needs, like their needs, their sensory processing, their emotional regulation may differ, and that's okay. How they emotionally regulate might be more sensory. For instance, like going under a shower and they're feeling the water on their skin. That might work better for them to regulate, or they may need to get outside or do laps, like running up and down, so they can regulate their nervous system. It might be breath work, it might be meditation. But what works for you to step outside the old pattern? Because you're not your behaviors. You weren't born that way. We're created, and it comes back to the environments. So the other key to self-understanding and creating space is to stop masking through the people pleaser, through the placating, through the overgiving, through the victim, through the persecutor, through the rescuer. Those are masks to protect yourself, because there's fear there. And so then the opposite of masking is you're going to honor yourself, honor your value, your worth, the way that you think. It's okay to think differently. It's okay to be different. Okay, we live in society and structures that don't like people that are different. And they say, keep up with the program. No, I'm not going to keep up with the program, because if we keep up with the program that you're on, we're going to become robots. If you don't open your eyes to what's actually going on in the world, then we have a problem. right? I used to hate that comment when I was in the healthcare system. People come in to keep up with the program. I'm keeping up with the program, but I'm not becoming a robot. Because when we become robots, we forget what's actually happening. We need to consciously be conscious and present in every moment. Okay, not just become hypnotized or robotic because of the robotic life that we may live in. So we don't have to necessarily keep up with the program, because that might be the wrong program that you're on. So you're creating space as well. So you're slowing down, which helps identify what's actually happening in your relationship. So you can journal on, or free write, or go for walks and figure out, again, who am I? Like, what is it that I value? What is it that I want in friendships? What is it that I want in relationships? Okay, because who we were in our 20s is different in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and beyonds. What you value then is different now, because everyone's in different transitions. Okay, and then you're taking time to reflect instead of reacting immediately. Okay, because some neurodiverse women will get lost in the moment, and then they forget what the boundaries are. Okay, that no means no, but they might forget that for a moment, and they get stuck in the happy or the dopamine, and then they're like, oh, that's right, I'm looking back on hindsight, and I was meant to say no, or the no wasn't heard or respected. Okay, or maybe I was wearing this or that, or maybe I was too flirtatious, or maybe this happened, and then they start to blame themselves. How can you make your boundaries known? That's the question I would ask there. I'm talking a lot, we'll keep going. So Karpman triangle. We spoke about the victim. So the victim feels powerless. They may blame others or feel stuck. So they feel powerless. They blame their parents. They blame their partner. They blame their kids. It's everyone else's fault. It's my past fault. It's this. And then they feel even more stuck. The persecutor criticizes, blames, and controls other people because they're feeling out of control. All of these roles within the Karpman triangle, they all have fears and insecurities, believe it or not. Right? The persecutor would potentially be like a bully. Usually bullies have been bullied. They might not admit that. Then we have rescuers. So they try to fix others and overhelp and overgive and neglect their own needs. I'd say the main one in that would be the rescuer, mostly in my old recovery language. So yeah, they like to fix. They overhelp and they neglect their own needs. So then there would be probably a lack of boundaries for each one of those. They're not seeing what boundaries are. What are boundaries? They're fences that protect you physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, yeah? So many neurodiverse women oscillate between the rescuer and victim in relationships. And they can become the persecutors too sometimes. So the way out is through self-awareness and stepping into the creator role, stepping into either the challenger, the coach, or the counselor. How can I challenge myself or this other person in a healthy way, in a respectful way, in a responding way, in my tonality, in my body language, in my energy vortex? How can I coach myself through this? What's working? What's not working? What could I do differently? What could I improve? Simple shit. How can I nurture and counsel myself through this process or next onion layer? Because the more you deny and put your ego up, the more you're repressing, which I said the other day is like if you like depression and repression are very interlinked. So it's your responsibility to create a new pattern, a pattern that serves you, because then you're going to attract in a different reality and different relationships. You got to take responsibility for your own emotional regulations and choices. So that might be through having your own space. It might be through walking away. Okay, it might be through not responding to people's bullshit. Okay, because they might not be worthy of that. Okay, so sometimes less is more again. So then through that self-regulation and breaking the cycle, like some of the tools I said, like running or your shower, like the sensory stuff, breath work, grounding, because that creates the deep breathing, creates like a mindfulness, a movement. Journaling, you can identify the trauma responses or triggers, and then the patterns. And then you can set boundaries by saying no and protecting your energy. And then that's going to shift your perspective. So you're going to ask, what do I need right now? So if you're angry, you're going to ask yourself, what do I need right now? Not why am I angry? Because that's going to make you more angry. But if you ask, what is it that I need right now? Space. What is it that I need right now? A break. What is it that I need right now? Right? Water. Most people have a water bottle at work. Okay. What is it that I need right now? Food. Sugar. Carbohydrate. Protein to keep your brain productive. HALT, or like HALT. Hungry, angry, late, tired. If you see a tired kid that hasn't eaten, they're gonna be angry. It's the same as an adult or a kidult. They're the same. If they're tired, if they're hungry, if they're angry, if they're late, they're gonna have different trigger points. Okay? So what do I need right now? Good question. So you're not alone, and you can change these patterns with self-awareness and the right tools and the right community or the right environments, okay? So I'll share my free group for those of you that are new to me at the end. So it's called Create Healthy Relationships Through Healing. I go live every Monday at 8:30 a.m. Sydney time. That will stop, I'm going to say the 30th of June, okay, 2025, and I'll put up some other videos and reels and stuff on that day. I may get some collaborators that come in from the team, and they might do some Q&A on the Monday. I'll see or tune in, and we'll have a look at that. And then if this resonated with you for this 30 to 60 minutes, we could go deeper. And I want to offer you the Soul Sisters Mastermind. This is an online group community where you have not only community but accountability and support every Tuesday night. I'm just going to coach. So if someone has a problem in their relationship, like conflict resolution or communication difficulties or boundaries, we're going to talk through that, and it's going to support the whole community. So it's going to be intuitively coaching and counseling you, and we'll go around the circle. Okay? This is for neurodiverse women, okay, in their 30s. Usually they're in their 30s, and they're wanting to create healthier relationships. Really teary right now, which is weird. So they're wanting to create healthier relationships. And yeah, so that's 12 weeks together from the 18th of March until the 3rd of June from 5 to 6:30 p.m. Sydney time. I say Sydney time because daylight savings will complete halfway within there, so I say Sydney. And then and that's it. Like that's it. Community support, coaching and counseling, 12 weeks together. Okay, so then you can have a healthier relationship with yourself firstly and other people. Learn something new about your onion layers. Alright, learn something new about yourself. Okay, have that community where you don't feel alone and stuck anymore. Have that community where you can feel vulnerable, safe. You feel no judgment. Okay, so if you want to join the Soul Sisters Mastermind, we start in about 13 days time. It is $84 per week on a payment plan. And I just think of it as, you know, if you get your hair done every week, or your makeup or your eyelashes, or you buy a carton of beer or a carton of wine every weekend, why not put that towards your own mental health? Okay, in the comfort of your own home, a nice comfy blankie with your coffee, or some people have decaf, or your chai. Alright, and just being really present with yourself and other people, and learning how to maybe communicate and how to be around different personalities. And then we may role model that within the group, and then you go out to the big wide world and you practice those tools. Because it takes about 3 months to change a habit, or 12 weeks. Some say 3 weeks. It might take 3 months to change a pattern that you've been holding on to for 10 to 20 years that's affected you in your relationships. So this is a really good offer. It's cheap as chips, hasn't been that at that level for many years, and it's just my way of giving back, being the final group coaching for the year. I'll be away for the rest of the year. So yeah, what's one pattern that you want to break? What's one pattern that you want to break? And just thinking, if you hold on to that pattern and you don't break that pattern, what's going to happen in 12 months' time? Then, what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years' time? How are you going to be feeling? What are you going to be thinking? So now is the best time. When is the next best time? Now. The first best time was actually 20 years ago. It's a Chinese proverb. The next best time is now. So we can procrastinate and we can try and fix the things that we want to fix, and that's right, you can, because you have all the answers within you. Like I said earlier, you have your support team and your support people. If you're wanting something a little bit different that you think would support you deeper, maybe the Soul Sisters Mastermind may be for you. So then after I share the free community, I'm going to share a 30-minute booking link where you can ask me any questions about the Soul Sisters Mastermind, about any challenges that you may have financially or with your time. Let's talk about that. Or just direct message me. I want this to be an easy yes for you. If it's the right time, if you're committed to the process, if you're willing to put yourself first and you value yourself. Happy to talk to your husbands on the phone too. That's cool. All right, because you're worth it. Self-care isn't just looking pretty. Self-care is taking care of ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally. Okay, and everyone utilizes different therapies at different times. So that's it. Hashtag live, hashtag replay. I'll answer any questions if there's any, and then I'm going to love and leave you. Which I don't think there's any questions. Ooh, man, I always do that. I did that the other day. I saw Corinne's name and then Stevenson, and then the other names were like, and I'm like, okay. I'm so sorry. Anyway, hashtag replay, hashtag live. I cannot see any comments. I hope tonight supported each one of you in some way, and you all would have got a different takeaway. So you can share your takeaway or just be quiet little critters. That's okay too. And I'll talk to you all soon. Remember that you are loved, you are worthy, you are significant, and each and every one of you have a purpose. God bless your little cotton socks, and I'll see you all next time. Join the group if you want this type of live every Monday. All right. Okay, bye.